It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. We're coming to you from the world headquarters of Remodel Revolution from deep in the heart of the great state of Texas. That would be Big D. It is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful time of year. We're all very lucky right now to be here, and I brought in the best of the best today. I have with us Mr. Steve Lawton with Total Air and Heat. We're going to talk air conditioning and other things. As you know, since Steve is smarter than a hoot owl, we'll have a little wisdom coming our way as well. Also, we have our good friend Richard Miller with Miller Homes in Dallas. Richard is a custom home builder and big-time remodeler. He's going to do our regional remodelers report when we come back in just half a minute. Let's keep pushing buttons.
Buttons are being pushed.
Uh-oh. Hmm. Are we live?
We should be, yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We had a little technical difficulty getting going here. We'll edit that out. Don't worry. It'll all look good tomorrow. But the one thing I can't make look good tomorrow is my first guest. He's just such a handsome man that there's no improvement necessary. I want to welcome to the show, excuse me for spitting. I want to welcome to the show my very good friend, Mr. Steve Lawton with Total Air and Heat. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Alex. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic.
As far as that improvement side of things, my wife has a lot of suggestions for me.
For you
Yeah.
to give to me? Or
No. As far as my
she
appearance.
thinks you need improvement. I
Yes,
thought maybe she was
absolutely.
thinking I needed improvement. I know that's not right.
No, you're perfect.
Yeah. Steve and his son, Justin, run Total Air and Heat in Richardson, and they have been in business a long time, but I thought Steve might want to spend a minute or two and give us sort of a brief history of Total Air and Heat.
Sure, Alex. My dad started the company in 1957. It was back when air conditioning was just starting to be used in homes, and we lived in a subdivision in Oak Cliff that had central heat but no central air. So we put it in our house. The neighbors saw him doing it, and they said, we want that too. And there you go.
The rest is history.
Instant air conditioning company.
How many employees do you have?
We've got about 45. We serve North Dallas and Collin County areas, and we're really enjoying interacting with people and getting back to normal out there. And we're still all masked up and sanitizing, but
Well, that's an improvement for an AC guy anyway.
yes, sir.
That's helpful all the way around.
Thank you.
But you're guy. You kind of have always been what I consider a really high-end company. I mean, you deal in high-end product, you have well-trained employees, well-trained technicians, and you've kind of stayed with all of the, improvements and the technologies as they've grown. Because Steve and I have been talking about this for 20 years now, and we've watched this entire, not only the air conditioning business, but the construction business just morph into this whole thing that it's so different than it was back when we started, when we were little fellers. Yeah. So wanted to talk about the first thing on my list today, of course, is the way that the big freeze in February. I keep running into this in everything I'm doing now. We're still having a lot of effects from the big freeze in February, and that's where we, for 4 or 5 days, were below 20 degrees, I think, or
below it.
Well, near zero.
Yes.
And our AC and heating systems and our plumbing, our houses are not designed in this part of the country to accommodate that type of weather. We just have a warmer climate. We don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, based on historical numbers, we designed systems to be able to maintain indoor temperature based on it being 20 degrees outside. And even if it drops below 20, maybe down to 10, it's only for a few hours in most cases. But this big freeze that Alex is talking about has taken us to places we've never been before. We stayed below 10 for multiple days in a row, and
It was
it
nasty.
changed everything. The houses simply weren't designed for it, especially the insulation.
How did, and obviously there was a period of time when a lot of people didn't have electricity. So we'll just take that one off the plate because that doesn't matter. But how did this affect your AC clients? Because you have two kinds. You have a gas heat. I say AC, I should say heat. You have gas, and then you have electric.
Right.
Tell us what happened.
Well, setting aside the power failures, because none of these heating systems are going to work if you don't have power.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the challenges came, is the rolling blackouts, where people would have power off for a couple of hours or more, then they come back on for a couple of hours. So the heat was just playing catch up the entire time, just trying to get it to set point in the home. Most houses stayed in the low 60s if they were lucky, indoors, which is livable. But what it did is, if you didn't have all your cabinet doors open to the outside walls where there was plumbing, and of course attics got way below freezing, and there was lots and lots of
Water heaters.
water heaters and just plumbing pipes in
Yeah,
general
yeah.
that burst. My house included. We never lost power, but I do have some pipes that run through the attic, and they burst in 3 places and flooded the house.
So what if you had heat pumps? How did they hold up?
Heat pumps held up pretty good. In some cases, depending on how well they were sized, you might have turned it from regular heat pump mode to emergency heat, which would have been just running the auxiliary heat strips on the system. And where we got the most calls were on heat pump systems where either two things were going on. One is there was a problem with the defrost cycle, where the unit outdoors was not de-icing itself, where people thought their unit was on fire because of all the steam coming out of it while it was defrosting. And number two would have been they had backup heat strips that maybe one of the elements was out, and so it could no longer maintain temperature in their home.
Well, not to mention that strange noise they kept hearing with the heat strip, which sounded kind of like a cash register.
Well, yeah, I mean, utility bills in general were just out of control, even those with plans that didn't allow for going up much on regulated energy prices, they still went up. And so, yeah, we saw people's utility bills triple, quadruple.
Well, of course,
just
when you're
depending on
running a heat strip, you're just running straight electricity into
Yeah.
two wires
Yeah.
and getting them hot.
You get $1 worth of heat for every dollar in
Right.
electricity, versus with a heat pump system, you get typically $2.50 to $3 of heat for every
Explain real
dollar
quick.
of electricity.
Explain to our audience real quick what a heat pump is, because that is something that I had heat pumps, so I didn't really know how they operated. I just knew that when it came on, when it was cold, I didn't feel much warm air, and I didn't understand why that was.
There's a couple of reasons for that, Alex. First of all, with heat pumps, basically all we've done is reverse the cycle of the system. Well, now the coil on your indoor system is the condensing coil, and the coil on the outdoor unit is now the evaporator coil. So in summertime, if you put your hand above your air conditioner, it's blowing out hotter than what the outdoor temperature is. In wintertime, it's going to be blowing out colder than what the outdoor temperature is, and that's why it has to go into a defrost cycle. But in general, the temperature of the air with a heat pump system, unless you have a variable speed blower, is going to be 10 to 20 degrees cooler than a gas heat system is. So instead of around 120 to 130 degree leaving air temperature on a gas heat system, it's going to be more like about 110 to 100. And so if the duct system's not designed right, then it's blowing on you. And in particular, women seem to be very sensitive to 110 degree air coming out of the vent blowing on them. That's about maybe 95 degrees by the time it makes it to them.
I just want to take a little exception to that statement and just let you know that men have this little cold spot right up here.
Yeah,
If they don't have hair.
the no
and
hair zone.
The
Yeah,
no hair zone.
Yeah.
And so we need to address that. It could be a very small, I don't care. Y'all need to do something about that, because I had this cold head for about
we got a
4
wig
days.
for you, Alex.
And
Wig. Yeah,
I was
that or a
wearing
beanie.
I was wearing my wig. It
Oh.
didn't do any.
Well, you need to have an insulated wig then. But
Well,
you're right. I mean,
basically,
it is a comfort issue.
If I understand this right, then a heat pump is removing cold air, or is it? It's removing
yeah.
cold air as where an air conditioner removes hot air. So it's reversing what an air
It
conditioner
reverses
does.
this cycle.
So-
It's kind of like taking a window unit out of the window and then turning the outdoor part and putting that
Flipping it
indoors.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
turning it
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
and the cold part blows outdoors. That's a way to make it easy.
So the bottom line is, if you have a heat pump, you're not going to feel this warm, hot air hitting your skin, or you shouldn't really. It's designed to remove the cold air, where it just makes a change in the ambient temperature and to keep you comfortable. And so it's not like you're sitting in front of a fireplace or you have a gas heater that's actually blowing hot
Right.
air in. And so that's probably why you were really getting concerned, because I know the feeling. I've had it in a big house, and I would, it would make me nuts.
However, heat pumps are more energy efficient
Right.
than gas furnaces are.
Well, there's a lot of places you can't get gas.
That's
So-
right. Almost all rural areas, if you live around the lake or anywhere rural, they may not have gas lines running to your subdivision.
So let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about what we're changing seasons right now.
Yes, sir.
We think we're changing seasons.
Well, we're trying to, but maybe not today.
Mother Nature she's really messing with us right now. It's snowing in places right now that it shouldn't be snowing in. But
Well, we set a record low temperature
Yeah,
in Texas
so
today.
this show is being broadcast in late April. And normally we're around 80 degrees right now. And today I think we'll be 65 or something like
We're running
that.
20 to 25
Yeah,
degrees
yeah.
lower than normal.
So when I say seasons are changing and you need to do a few things for your air conditioning system, believe me, it is going to happen. It just seems like it happens for a week and then it changes to another season. What should people be doing right now to get ready for really what's probably going to happen is all of a sudden we're going to wake up and it's 90 degrees every day and hot. I mean, just like
It's going to
overnight.
happen exactly that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
This way it almost always happens, and it's sometime in May that it does that. You want to have your air conditioning system ready for summer. You don't want to wait till July and go, I'm not comfortable anymore, to get your system serviced. Do a cooling tune-up now while you can and while we're not just covered up, because when it's June, July, August,
The line gets long.
it gets a lot longer, and now we're fixing breakdowns, and you want to avoid that. So whomever you use to service your air conditioning and heating system, get a summer or a cooling tune-up done now so it's ready for action when it starts.
How much does an air conditioning condenser and a system, how hard does it operate when it's hot outside? Typically in Texas.
Well, Alex, when it's the hottest out, the system's running at max capacity. And given most seasons in a year in Texas, air conditioning and heating system runs enough hours to be equivalent to a car that travels about 75,000 miles. And I don't think any of y'all would go 75,000 miles without an oil change. You shouldn't run your system without seasonal maintenance either. It's imperative that the coils, indoor and outdoors, be clean, because all we're doing is moving the heat that's in your home to outdoors, or in the wintertime, we're moving the cold in your house to outdoors, and it happens through those cooling coils. Filter changes are imperative. If you got the 1-inch throwaway filters, change them monthly, if at all possible. The thicker ones, let's say the 4 to 6 inch ones, typically are good for 4 to 6 months. 6 months is typically about the extreme I'd go to. I'd change them twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have washable filters, you also want to clean those monthly.
So there are lots of little independent repair guys going around town. I know that they're knocking on my door every day. Somebody's knocking and leaving a card with a rubber band on it, hanging on the handle or whatever.
You're living in Texas,
And,
yes.
right. And so they're all trying to generate business, and a lot of them aren't necessarily licensed, or you don't know if they are. And
That's
so
true.
how do you filter through that group of people till you come up? What do you need to ask? What does a homeowner need to ask somebody? What's a key question to make sure that you're getting not only the right person, but someone that's not going to cause more harm than good in your system?
Well, the first thing I'd ask for is show me your air conditioning license. All license holders, typically that's the owner of the company, has to carry a license on them issued by the state of Texas. Also, if you're doing a lot of work in your home, I'd ask them for a copy of their current certificate of insurance. You know, the standards in Texas is such that you can certainly get a lot more damage on a home if there's an accident than what the minimum insurance requirements are. We carry, $1 million policy with $2 million extra in umbrella insurance. For our contracting company size, the requirement is only about $300,000. Well, try and find a $300,000 house these days.
Yeah,
you know?
right. That's a starter home.
They've gone out of control on price.
It's still under warranty.
Yeah. So ask for a copy of the insurance and a copy of their license. They should give that to you without any problem.
Okay, so home warranty companies. So a lot of people will call a home warranty. I have heard some real nightmare scenarios about it's really some of the workmen that will go out and try to solicit business directly from the homeowners that are working for the home warranty company. I've heard 2 or 3 stories over the years where, yeah, the workman told me they came out and they didn't fix it and they said they'd be back and they weren't. I'm not trying to trash home warranty companies. They've got it's a great service that a lot of people depend on when they buy a house and they need them. Do you find that maybe if there's certain things wrong, like maybe in your mechanical system, you might want to get the home warranty company, maybe have a backup plan to have someone like you come out and at least do an examination of the problem, so you know you're not getting.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more on
Was
that
that politically
one, Alex.
correct enough?
Yeah.
That's
I
neat.
mean, everybody has a right to a second opinion, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
bet. You know, when it comes to home purchases, it's very common that you buy a home. Let's say the house is 20, 30 years old. In many instances, the air conditioning system is at least 10 years old. It may be the same age as the home. And from my perspective, if it's over 15 years old, I would question as to the long-term serviceability of that system. You know, we've had refrigerant changes in the last 15 years. And so if it's an older system using refrigerant 22, you really don't want that system in there. That's where you get a contractor that you trust to come look at that system and just give a second opinion about its actual condition. With home warranties, it only has to run and meet minimum requirements. And that's not necessarily on a hot day or a cold day for it to pass inspection. Home warranties, the thing that I dislike about them the most is I could come out to your house and find that the system's a little bit low on refrigerant. And so the home warranty company's solution is to add refrigerant.
Instead of saying, why is it low on refrigerant?
Instead of searching the system and finding the leak.
Right.
Because then that could run into thousands of dollars.
Right.
I could be there today and replace a bad contactor, but also know that you have a fan motor that's going out or a capacitor this week. Again, under home warranty requirements, I don't talk about those things.
I see. And so you're not getting a getting a thorough story of how your system's going typically.
Well, it's not something I'm willing to risk my reputation on. My guys are trained to look at the whole system and simply advise the customer of what's going on. You let the customer make their choices as to what they want done. And in many instances, we go out there and run a service call, and then the customer calls our home warranty company up for the repair.
Yeah, right. Sure.
It's okay with us
Makes
if you
them
do
feel
that.
makes them feel better.
Absolutely.
One other thing that comes up a lot in repairing your air conditioner is when you have one part of it go out. The compressor may go out, or you may have a problem with the air delivery system in your attic. And sometimes you'll have a HVAC person come out and say, well, we have to replace it. And sometimes you can't blend things and have them work the way, optimal solution.
Very true, Alex.
How would I know that, or what would I ask somebody if I'm a homeowner and I have to replace just part of it? How do I what should I say to this person? Well, are you doing this to make sure my system isn't going to have problems from what you're doing?
Sure. Cooling coils, which is on the indoor part of your system frequently, is where the problem is. At least when it comes to refrigerant leaks, more times than not, it's on that indoor coil. Well, you've got an R22 system. We've got to put a coil that's compatible with
R22 was the Freon.
It's what they used to
They
call
called
Freon. Yes.
Okay, and they don't use that now.
Federal government, EPA, Department of Energy phased that refrigerant out 10 plus years ago.
Right, and what's the new stuff called?
It's called R410A.
So we're just going by the R410. We don't have a brand name for it now.
Well, Carrier's got their name for
Everybody's
it.
got their
that's a
their own.
trademark.
Okay.
Actually, the word Freon was a trademark
Right.
of DuPont.
Right. But
So-
that's what we called it. So,
Sure. It's kind of like Kleenex.
So it was R22. The new is R41.
R410A.
R410A. I was seeing the numbers.
Well, and the crazy thing is, Alex, it's on the phase-out list too.
Yeah, you told me that
Yeah.
about a year ago.
The it's still 5 to 10 years away, but the replacement refrigerant has propane in it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. We had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. You have a little Freon leak, and you cook some hot dogs
propane,
over. Yeah.
Well, when your power goes out, you can just light the refrigerant to heat your home, right? No, seriously, there'll be some safety things in place to hopefully prevent those issues.
Fire alarm
But
system.
My point is that the outdoor unit as a minimum needs to be properly matched with your indoor cooling coil.
Right.
In addition, in effective 2020, indoor blowers are now required to be what is called at least a constant torque motor. And that's a DC voltage motor. It doesn't have to be variable speed, but it still is a DC voltage motor, which is much more energy efficient than what is currently called a constant, a variable blower, in that it's a capacitor run motor instead of DC voltage.
But it's just a more efficient motor. So they're requiring a more efficient motor to run the blower.
It goes into the overall efficiency ratings of the system. So, Alex, you can't put a system in, let's say, rated for 16 SEER, that is based on the constant torque motor without replacing the furnace or the air handler. It doesn't match up. And I don't recommend that you try to replace this part of your system unless you have a newer home. Let's say maybe this has been built in the last 10 years, or your system's been built in the last 10 years, where there's a chance that some of that matches up together. So there's a simple solution to this. Just ask for the AHRI rating on what you're putting in. There's a certificate that every air conditioning manufacturer has to produce that rates the matchup of their systems. New construction has to go through the same thing. And what makes a new home better than a used home is they come with a 2-year warranty on everything on the house, versus a used home, you've got that extended warranty that's through a third-party company.
Right. Yeah. Wow. It's become very complex. It's very complex.
Just do your homework. Right now the market's so hot. There's homes that are being bought sight unseen.
Well, some of the quality of what I see and have seen for the last really 10 years is pathetic. I mean, I'm not going to pull any punches on it. They're building crappy houses. Now, we're going to have a builder on with us in a few minutes that builds really high-end houses, and there is a huge difference. And there's a huge, building a house in 4 months is not going to provide you the time it takes to manage it properly, supervise it properly, and get a good quality product at the end. You just can't do it. And so, but that's a whole nother discussion Richard and I are going to have. And I really appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate you.
Whatever I can do to help,
advice.
Alex.
Yeah.
I just like to give honest opinions and honest answers to the listeners, and let them make their choices as to what's right for them.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to talk about. We could talk about it all day, and we've done that before, and it gets us in trouble every time.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, Steve will say something. He'll say something, and I'll get emails.
Yeah.
From you.
Yeah.
The people I love that are angry, mad. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back in a couple minutes with Richard Miller, a wonderful builder from the city of Dallas. Imagine this, a totally customized, organized, and beautiful master closet. A home office that fits right into a perfect space. A pantry designed specifically for your storage needs. Imagine your home totally organized. It's time to call the design professionals at Closets by Design DFW and turn your dreams into a reality. With a design staff over 30 strong, Closets by Design works directly with you to create your dream space, and they build remodeled it locally, helping support the DFW community. Check them out at dallas.closetsbydesign.com or call them at 972-361-0010. Use the promo code RRV to find out about the amazing specials and discounts available. That's dallas.closetsbydesign.com or call them at 972-361-0010, and don't forget that promo code RRV, Closets by Design. It's only a few short weeks until we'll be running our air conditioners all day and all night. Hey, it's time to get an HVAC tune-up scheduled. Call my friends at Total Air and Heat in Plano, Texas at 972-881-0020 right now and get on their schedule for a tune-up. Don't wait for the long lines. Get ahead of the crowd. Total Air has been servicing North Dallas and Plano and Richardson areas for over 60 years. Steve and Justin Lawton sell and service Carrier brand heating and cooling systems with Green Speed Intelligence technology. So give them a call at 972-881-0020 or contact them at totalair.com. Hey, don't forget to follow us on all your social media, like us on Facebook, subscribe and share on YouTube, and check us out on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to watch Remodel Revolution on your smart TV, on Texas Weather Tracker TV, on Roku, Android, Apple, and Amazon TV, Sundays at 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, if you haven't remodeled or built a new home in the last, year, or maybe even 18 months, you may not be aware of what a complete catastrophe we have on our hands right now, particularly locally, but I think it's probably national. It's added up to the cost of materials, the availability of materials, things that we normally would walk in and just pick up at the lumberyard that are not there now, things that we have to order and wait. I tell my clients, things that used to take a week are now taking 4 or 5 weeks, things that would normally take a month, or let's say things that would take 4 or 5 weeks are now maybe sometimes taking 4 or 5 months. And so our world has gotten turned upside down, and it's affecting all of our ability to perform the way we're accustomed to performing. So I invited Mr. Richard Miller to put him in the hot seat now, and he can explain to his clients the problem. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alex. It's been way too long.
Yeah, it's been way too long. I always enjoy having you here. I had a builder on last week, and I know my audience is probably, I don't know, maybe they're tired of hearing it, but I think it's really important that everybody understand where we're at on availability of materials, because I know that people get really frustrated. You've got a client and they're real excited. So when you're remodeling a house, there are phases you go through.
Sure.
Right? So you go through first of all, the homeowner decides, for whatever reason, we're going to do this.
Right.
And they're a little nervous about it. Then they start planning it. They start getting excited. And then it ends up where they call you or me, and they're like ramming. They're ready to go. Let's do it, man. We made our decision. We're going to spend the money. We're super excited about what it's going to be. And then you have to give them the shot of reality. And I hate that, because I want them to be happy from day one to the
Absolutely.
day you walk out.
Absolutely.
But there are certain realities now that we've never had to deal with before.
Yeah. So, I mean, starting with COVID, when COVID started, we started seeing, material supply availability issues with appliances, some light fixtures, things like that. Things that may have been sourced from China or had parts in China. We kind of worked around that with, I started ordering appliances at slab pour instead of 2 weeks before I needed them. Then we had lumber prices started to go up, and what was at first kind of an annoyance has turned into a real problem. Now that it looks like COVID is wrapping up, we're still having an increasing prices and increasing availability issues.
I read a super interesting article the other day about East Texas lumber production that was fascinating. And I'm sure this is sort of a nationwide problem, could be a global problem, but a lot of businesses shut down because of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of mills shut down.
Right.
They shut down the Canadian border where a lot of our lumber
Our
comes
soft
from and
lumbers.
is still shut down.
And tariffed them.
Yep.
And so we ended up not only not able to get them, but when we could get them, we couldn't afford them. And so that became a big problem. Now you do custom homes and,
I do custom new builds and big remodels.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of getting hit on all ends of this thing.
Yeah, definitely. With the lumber mills started shutting down for COVID, they didn't expect that there was going to be a housing boom. Right.
Or continued.
Right. So
Yeah,
they laid
yeah.
everybody off.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to be shut down for a while. And then the housing market just took off. Hottest housing market.
What
in
is
years.
driving that? What is driving that?
That is a good question. I'm not sure exactly what factors.
Well,
into
I
that.
don't think you and I are smart enough to answer that question. I don't even know
Definitely,
why I asked it. That's why they call this the hot seat.
Hey, I'm a builder.
And so I talked to some people, and I brought this up in the last show, but I talked to some people recently about doing a kitchen, and they had already been talking to their designer for some time, and they got a delivery quote of 14 weeks on their appliances.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
I
right.
was blown away by that.
Yeah.
Are you finding that some of our suppliers are they not able to get them, or they're not stocking them, or did they get caught, like you say, after COVID, thinking everything's going to slow down, and it didn't?
So I think it depends on what it is, right? So appliances, maybe have parts from China. Light fixtures maybe have parts from China. I actually ordered an appliance package this time last year for a house that I'm finishing up now. And just in March, I was confirmed that the last appliance had come in and was ready to deliver. A year. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. You need to buy cheaper appliances. That's your problem.
Truck manufacturers are shut down right now because of chips. And now the appliances are smarter, they've got chips in them too. And I think that's where the backlog has related
So
to
it's almost like
overseas parts.
our manufacturing is a global commodity, right? And so your refrigerator isn't just built in China. I mean, the parts are coming from all over the world.
Everywhere, yeah.
And so if one, like you're saying, if they can't get a chip or they can't get some other part, it doesn't get done.
Right.
It gets done. But a year, I had no idea it was taking that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's if you can get the material. When you talk about lumber and things like that, I had a $20,000 lumber package this time last year that I priced out. I'm gonna be ready for the lumber pretty soon. I'll probably pay $70,000 for that.
And
package.
and this was the question I had for our friend Donnie Mack, he just builds new homes. He doesn't get into the remodeling part of it. How are your clients dealing with this, and how are you able to deal with this from the financial part of a project? Because that's major. I mean, we can we've always told our clients in remodel, factor in a 10 to, depending on the size of the job. On a big job, I would tell them 20% fudge factor on for just a contingency.
Sure.
And that you easily will reach that, right? Well, now we're talking about way beyond that.
Way beyond that, yeah.
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 200-300%.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, what was an annoyance is now a real show-stopping issue potentially. You know, I'm a fixed price builder, but for new contracts, I'm having to go cost plus on several line items.
To protect you, but to also get the best deals you can for your client.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So going cost plus, and then, you know, I have an escalation clause in my contract that I've never had to use, and I'll probably have to use it.
But are your clients hanging in there with you, or have they started delaying projects, or are they getting a little cold feet, or
So
how's
I
that
haven't had
going?
a project delayed yet. You know, we try to plan for as much of this as we can, but like I said, in the last few months, it's really
it's uncontrollable.
It's gotten out of control.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm concerned about an overall slowdown. We may already be seeing it, but I mean, here's what happens, folks. The really big volume builders are buying bulk, and they're using prices that they paid a year ago for it. You know, they're buying a trainload of stuff, a boxcar. A smaller builder is not able to do that, you know, for many reasons. And so they're paying a more current price. And I think that it's the smaller volume builder that's going to be the most affected.
Right.
At some point, it's going to catch up to the volume builders, and they're still putting in massive developments all over the place.
All over the place.
It is incredible.
And making margins that they've never seen before, just because the market's so hot.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I've got a builder friend of mine that due to the shortages in OSB and engineered wood and things like that, has actually purchased a shipping container and started stockpiling OSB more than he needs due to the price, but also due to, you know, at any price he may not be able to get it pretty soon. So, yeah.
And so, again, my concern is how this is going to affect us in the long run. I go on like an 18-month cycle in my head, and I watch how things are going in 18-month increments, because I've noticed over the years that when I start to see certain things in the market happen, particularly I watch the commercial market, because the commercial market is a lot of my clientele. You know, the middle management type people, they're going to hire me to remodel a house. Sure. If that commercial market starts wavering, or they're laying people off, or they're canceling projects, it's always been about an 18-month trickle down. I know some of you people don't believe in trickle down, but it happens. And it takes about 12, 18 months for it to get down to where my guy is saying, I can't do it now, I'm too nervous, or whatever.
Right.
I have been looking for that, and then I realized we're in the middle of it. It started at COVID.
Right.
We're right in the middle of it, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it was true to form this time, this go around.
Yeah, my fear is it's going to get worse before it gets better here.
Well, we're just looking at the fourth quarter until there might be some sort of improvement, and then we still don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
My question is, how many of y'all over the years seen price reductions?
Well, you have seasonal price reductions.
A little bit.
So we'll have our lumber materials go up during the winter time and during certain times, but when they start selling more volume, typically the manufacturers will drop. There'll be a little bit of a seasonal drop. It gets you back closer to normal. You know, it's manageable. But boy, that I don't think it's ever coming down. And
That's
this
my
is going to,
point.
well, you know, they also create shortages.
Sure.
So Richard remembers this, you remember this, they created a concrete shortage, and concrete went from, what, $35 a yard to $100 a yard. And it's never come down. I don't even know what it is now.
It's about $135, $140.
Okay, so same thing with sheetrock. They did that. The same thing with roofing.
Well,
They
air
did
conditioning and heating, we've seen 12% increases so far this year, with another 6% coming in June.
Boy, this is a really downer discussion.
Sorry, it's reality.
But it is reality, and I think that it's a sign of the times of the things that we need to be talking about, though.
Right, and it's so it's not just appliances. it's not just lumber. The new kids on the block as far as shortages are concrete.
Oh, really?
Yep. So a couple of weeks ago, I had a flat work pour, had on schedule with a very reputable concrete company, one of the best in the city. And they had to call me, they actually called me like at 3:30 in the morning and said that our concrete supplier did not receive the truck of raw materials that he needs to make our concrete. So we're going to have to delay the pour. It's the first time that's ever happened.
And so, and there's a daisy chain effect.
Exactly.
And so he's delaying lots of pours.
Right.
So you're just back at the back of the line again.
Right. Yeah. Drywall, adhesive, things that use adhesive, drywall raw materials are coming down the road.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting how we're starting to see how all of this ties together globally.
Yeah.
It's really eye-opening.
Well, steel, copper,
Mm-hmm.
wire, all those things are seeing the same increases that you're seeing
Yep.
on other building materials.
So, so on our way out, my last question to you is your feeling for 2021 and beyond. How are you looking at things as a businessman coming up?
Sure. So, like I was mentioning, I'm having to adjust my contracting and pricing schemes so that it's not as easy to do a fixed price contract anymore, right? So variable price. I feel like that it's going to get better in 2021 or in 2022.
2022, but it's going to take until.
But there's going to be some rough times ahead before that happens.
Wow. I really appreciate you coming in and
Absolutely.
kind of laying it all out for us, because I think that I think this is a very healthy discussion that we all need to be having. Thank you, Mr. Lawton, for
My pleasure.
for coming in
I
and
love
spending
being
the
on
day
the show
with us.
with you.
It's always fun. It's always
Yeah.
fun. I appreciate you, my audience. We are so happy to be here with you every week. We hope that you'll go and find us on all your social media, like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next week, this is Alex Guthrie. Look forward to seeing you next week. Hey, don't forget to follow us on all your social media, like us on Facebook, subscribe and share on YouTube, and check us out on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to watch Remodel Revolution on your smart TV, on Texas Weather Tracker TV, on Roku, Android, Apple, and Amazon TV, Sundays at 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional. You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle @Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.